pushing and videoing at the same time. Make our way in. We got a wheelchair entrance here on the right, which is nice. Alright, see you on the inside.
So as we pulled in,
I don't think I've ever spent a warm day in Missouri.
As we pulled in, it was already the Secret Service with the earpieces and their thingy-mabobs, tablets and stuff.
Secret Service or state stuff.
Could also just be a local security
local,
thing.
You know, Secret Service ends when your life's over, your life.
Right.
Pretty handsome building.
Yep. It's got the pillars here. It's really neat.
There's the schmutz button to push.
It's over here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome. Visit us.
Credit card.
So whichever would be most convenient.
Till the movie starts.
Alright, so here's the presidential years. Next show begins in
That's why I have to watch the movie first.
3 minutes and 2 minutes now.
Okay, so it's 2 minutes to the movie starts, the presidential years, so I guess we'll catch that one first. Looks cool.
And then there's to the exhibits. Alright, so they'll be showing us a movie here. This big screen.
They stood in an unbroken chain of sorrow from Warm Springs, Georgia to Washington, D.C. The president was dead. A nation 3 years at war was not only saying goodbye to its commander-in-chief, but to a president who had occupied the White House for over 12 years. In his place now was a man the nation knew little about. His name was Harry S. Truman. travel deep into the nation's heartland to discover who Harry Truman really was. There one would find reminders of a family that had farmed the Missouri land since 1841. His mother and father descended from Virginia and Kentucky families, attracted by the possibilities of the rich farm soil of the western frontier. His grandfather had outfitted and led wagon trains and cattle drives from Independence, Missouri to California. In Lamar, Missouri on May 8, 1884, Harry Truman would be the first of 3 children born to John Anderson and Martha Ellen Young to survive at birth. He was bright and shy, and from an early age had bad eyes. But in school he did well, finding more success in the classroom than on the playground, where he found it difficult to compete. Mornings before school, afternoons, and weekends, he worked in Clinton's drugstore to help pay expenses. But in 1903, his father moved the family to Kansas City in search of a better life. Unable to afford college, he worked in banks and later lived in a rooming house. But his life in the city would be short-lived. His mother, father, sister, and brother had moved to the family farm near Grandview, and they needed his help. Grandview was a big farm. There were 600 acres, and there were 14-hour days in the field. In the evening, he read from farm journals, found time to practice the piano, and to do it honestly, despite the fact that Pendergast controlled most of the concrete business. His projects won him a reputation as a public servant who could be trusted and get things done. In February of 1924, with the birth of his daughter, Mary Margaret, his life appeared complete. But inwardly he was troubled. Writing in his private journal, he admitted that he had not been free of dispensing party patronage, and confessed his despair with the corruption of the political machine of which he was a part. But Pendergast remained his road to the future. And in 1934, he accepted his backing to run for the United States Senate. Outstate, he went from courthouse to courthouse. He was not a great speaker, but he had been a farmer, and he talked farming, and they believed him. With his success in the rural areas and Pendergast delivering the city, Harry Truman was elected to the United States Senate. On arrival, his colleagues treated him cordially. But there was no disguising the fact that they were keeping their distance, and in private referred to him as the senator from Pendergast. and at home things seemed to be going no better. Tom Pendergast had been convicted of income tax evasion and had been sentenced to 15 months in Leavenworth Penitentiary. Truman's 1940 re-election was now in trouble. His opponent saw the opportunity to associate him with a convicted felon. There were even rumors that President Roosevelt was backing his opponent in the primary. "Harry, the president is dead," Mrs. Roosevelt told him. "Is there anything I can do for you?" Truman asked. "Is there anything we can do for you?" she replied. "For you are the one in trouble now." At 7:09 p.m., United States Chief Justice Harlan Stone administered the oath of office. Harry Truman was now the 33rd President of the United States. In the next 8 years, Harry Truman would face some of the most difficult problems confronting any president in the 20th century. And the decisions he would make would change America and the world forever.
Heading out into the exhibition area now. Here's the Holy Bible that he swore the oath on.
Alright, there he is taking the oath of office after President Roosevelt died on April 12, 1945. Massive stroke in Warm Springs, Georgia. Yeah. And I like that saying, boys, if you ever pray, pray for me now. I don't know whether you fellas ever had a load of hay fall on you, but when he told me yesterday what had happened, I felt like the moon, the stars, and all the planets had fallen on me. And as Jen said, there's the actual Bible that they use to administer the oath of office of the presidency. Chief Court, Supreme Court Justice.
The first 4 months. The newspaper clippings, April 12th, Truman takes office. The Cleveland Plain Dealer. The Kansas City Star Allies at Elbe, April 27th. All Germans in Italy surrendered. May 2nd, Berlin falls. May 8th, Germany surrenders. Big day, Big Three proclamations, VE Day. On a war against Japan, pledged by Truman, Churchill. The firebomb raids continue on the 26th. Tokyo is scorched to ground. Nimitz announces victory on Okinawa, June 21st. UN Charter signed. First atomic bomb dropped on Japan. Hits Hiroshima on August 6th, so that was definitely a huge decision to make a call upon. And then Soviet Union enters the war August 8th, 2 days later. And the second, a nuclear bomb hits Nagasaki. In August 14, Japan surrenders and peace, war ends. And yeah, he sure had a lot of big decisions to make in his 8 years presidency. Wow. Here's the post-war challenges. Returning veterans here on the ship. The HMS Queen Mary as it docks at New York City.
Here and some other families of soldiers are paying high rent for ragged, overcrowded shacks. With peace, hundreds of thousands throughout the country left worklands for the last time, and now we face the problem of reconverting factories.
The boom begins. Europe, 1947.
Yeah, this was the beginning of the Cold War with Russia, in the way a lot of Europe was devastated by World War II, and they thought it would provide an easy access for communism to take over Europe because the people didn't have anything. That's when they started the Marshall Plan, and George Marshall, Secretary of State, rushed all that aid and stuff into Europe so nobody would be hungry, because a hungry belly makes a dissatisfied person. So here we are, all the Berlin airlift, I guess it was 1949, dropping all that food and supplies. The Truman Doctrine. I had to make a hell of a lot of tough decisions, I'll tell you that. Nobody would go communist in Europe on his watch. There's George Marshall, who was Secretary of State. The Soviet Union dreamed of all Europe under communism. Berlin airlift, 1948. When Russia choked off Berlin, all the roads and trains, the only way you could get stuff in was by plane. Almost 1 year straight until they lifted the blockade. this in 1948 when Truman ran. The headlines proclaimed that Dewey defeated Truman when in actual fact Truman actually won re-election, embarrassing the Chicago Tribune and some of the other papers that printed the headline beforehand that Dewey had defeated Truman. There's his campaign trail, the 1948 election. Color everything. Notice how they didn't bother campaigning down south. Wasn't really any point.
Nobody once swore Harry S. Truman knows why. Very well. Here he's had all the keys.
Yeah, he was in war.
There's his military hat.
Under his re-election stuff, keys to the city that he was given. I can't think of many presidents that I've studied in my life that had to make more tough decisions in a short period than he did. I didn't always agree with him, but I had a lot of courage. Jen, we're out at the grave of Mr. and Mrs. Truman here. President and Mrs. and there's his grave, which has all of the offices he held from elected officer in his county to presiding judge to senator. There's Schmutzy. There you go.
Yeah.
Your happy girl.
The main house wing on the west side was built in 1902 during the administration of President Theodore Roosevelt. It houses the office of the President, his secretaries, and principal assistants. This wing is connected by a passage with the main White House, where the President and his family live and hold state functions. The almost hidden door on the right of the fireplace leads to the office of the President's private secretary. The one on the left leads to the corridor and to the cabinet room. The desk is a copy of one installed by President Theodore Roosevelt when the office was built. The office has been occupied by all the succeeding presidents. In the office of the President, it is centered all the responsibility for the administration of the government of the United States. Since the birth of the American Republic, the office of the President has grown and developed into the most important office of government in the history of the world. I hope that the exhibits in this library will give you, and especially the young people among you, a better understanding of the history and nature of the presidency and the government of the United States.